Hello there, welcome to part 2 in the playlist on how I got to where I am and how I want you to get to where you wish to be. The purpose of my channel, of course, is to help you play you and using the water pianism philosophy to get you there. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my theoretical journey and stuff which I was doing consciously or not away from the piano. But I will play the piano when necessary. A bit more talking than the first one, but I'm going to aim for 15 minutes to be not too much talking for you. And hopefully it's going to help you. We're going to take away lots of things. In the description box below, there's many links for some extra goodies. One in particular I'd like to highlight right now is the second point I'm going to make, which is about grade 5 theory. So if you don't look at any of the other links, then at least look at that one. So as always, likes, comments, subscriptions are welcome. Have a look at my books, blog, Patreon, and podcast. So there's 4 things, and I was just thinking about them before doing this video, and these 4 things just fell into my mind very, very quickly. And I thought, right, it's time to make the piano video for this. The first thing that you want to be mastering, you're going to master these 4 things. The fourth one, not necessarily, but if you want to. But the first 3, definitely. First one is listen. Your musical personality. You have to listen to as much music as you can. It doesn't matter if you're interested in jazz, classical, or pop or rock. It doesn't matter. Listen to as much as you possibly can. But not only that, this is the difference between just listening to music and saying I like that and I don't like that. We're talking about the mind of a water pianist. And that is a mind of effort towards self-mastery, observation, and knowing your musical personality is part of that self-mastery process. I know what I like, but I also know why. I know chord types I like, and I know why. I know theoretically how the chord is built, and I know the emotional connection to that chord, and I know if I like it or not. So when I listen to music, what's happening naturally is I'm identifying elements of that music which fit to my musical personality. Your musical personality cannot be forced. You have to be honest with yourself. And that's something I also like about the water pianism philosophy. It's about truth. It's not about pretending. It's not about comparing. And you'll benefit so much from knowing your musical personality. How do you do that? Well, everyone has a general idea of the kind of music that they like. And I think the first step you should take is to take the music that you already know that you like and start to analyze it. And this is the general theme of this video is about theory. So I'm always going to be making a reference to theory. For the musical personality, pieces that you like and that you know well, and then the pieces that you'd like to learn, and then third, maybe pieces that you've never heard or styles that you've never even considered, start to wander into those. Some world music from different countries, Indian stuff, Arabic stuff, Japanese stuff, South American stuff. There's so much variety out there, and you may surprise yourself going back into the genres in the past. There's so many beautiful melodies and interesting rhythms that you're missing a lot. And I'd hazard a guess that most viewers, unfortunately, I was the same in the beginning. You are not doing one of these 3 things. You are, which I had started to say. 1, you're not analyzing the music that you know to identify why you like it. I wasn't doing that, so I'm telling you to do that and not make that mistake. Second, you're not trying to understand why you like repertoire that you would like to learn. Why do you want to learn it? Why do you want to play Debussy's Arabesque? This is a common piece. Or why do you want to play some Chopin Nocturne? Why? Is it because everyone else is playing it? Is it because some teacher has told you to learn it? Or is it because you genuinely like that gentle kind of Chopin-y kind of sound? Is that why? Is it because you like waltz, a 3/4 time? Is it because you like a particular chord type? You have to go into it very, very deeply and understand why. For the music that you like now, why? All music, rock, classical, it doesn't matter. And then the music that you would like to learn. Why? Just stop before you learn it, because I've had so many conversations with people over the years, and they say, oh, I'm going to learn this piece, going to learn this piece, I want to learn this piece. And I say, well, why? And often they don't know. The answer is a very weak, meager answer. Oh, because it's a popular piano piece, or because it's on a list of recommended pieces a pianist should play. These are not satisfactory answers. So your musical personality is an endless journey of self-discovery. It's one that you can maybe get to 80% of in a few months, and then you can just start updating it. Occasionally I'll have a comment on my videos. Somebody will say, I'd like to play like this person or in this style, and even I discover new pieces, and I've heard a lot. And but I always discover new composers, new musicians, even new instruments. And I think, oh, that's interesting, that's nice, I haven't heard that before, that's an interesting melodic line, or that's an interesting chord progression or rhythm. And other times I might think, well, that's a bit cliche, a bit too simple, that kind of, left hand like this. It's a nice technique to practice, and some people may feel overwhelmed if they want to take on a big Liszt piece or a Rachmaninoff piece. They may feel a bit more comfortable to take on a piece which is just written in the key of C with the white notes and has a very simple left hand like this, and it's just some simple melody. I'm not playing a piece, by the way, I'm just playing anything, but I'm just saying that some pieces are very cliche. It moves from chord 1 to chord 4 to chord 5 to chord 1, and fine. There's a lot of music to choose from, and you have to know why you like it and what you like, but don't learn things for other people. Learn them because you want to. You have to play you. You have to be authentic to yourself. So musical personality is really the first thing, and I think it's very important, and you'll benefit so much if you just have a bit of a clean up in your brain and go, right, I like these pieces because of that reason. I want to learn these pieces because of these reasons, and I'm going to go and discover all of this other music and cherry pick things I like about them. That is a very revelatory experience. So that's the first thing, musical personality. And then from that experience, you'll acquire some theory. And in the first video about technique, I said, and I'll say it again, acquire what you need when you need it. That applies technically, meaning don't try and do some complicated technique which you don't need because it's a waste of time. Same with theory, acquire what you need when you need it, remembering and recognizing that some theory and some technical stuff applies to everybody across the board, no matter your path. That's like 20%, let's say. So you have to know major scales and at least the major and minor triads. That applies to everybody. It's your choice if you want to take it further into the jazz theory world, into the weird and wonderful world of whatever. So acquire what you need when you need it, but know that there's some things that you just have to have, theoretically and technically. So musical personality. Get it done. Start it today. At the time of recording, it's December 31st, New Year tomorrow, and it's a good time as any to start identifying your musical personality and beginning this journey of self-discovery, self-mastery. Second thing is musical personality, and then grade 5 theory, the one I said at the beginning. I recommend that you learn grade 5 theory, not to take an exam, not to show off, because it will fill in many holes that you perhaps have, and it will help you take on the more advanced theory, especially if you're interested in jazz stuff. Don't worry about the technical elements of the grade 5 theory. Learn the words generally. Music theory, you'd be surprised. If you look online right now, this is not me saying it, this is a fact, I've been doing this for 20 years. If you look for music theory, there isn't a lot. That sounds really strange. You think, well, there must be encyclopedias of music theory. There isn't. The main topics are quite limited. All you've got are ways to play notes, some notation stuff about sight reading, some Italian terms, some history, and that's it really, because music theory is just words about sounds, and knowing those words doesn't make you play better. Just because you know the word arpeggio doesn't mean that you can play an arpeggio quickly. Just because you know a major 7 chord doesn't mean that you can play them all in any key without hesitation. It doesn't mean that. So don't worry too much about not knowing theory, but I really recommend, and I've inspired myself to even make a video on this, so if I have made the video, it will be linked below, on grade 5 theory, but the technical part. I think it will In the description box below, there's a link to Grade 5 Theory, and I really recommend you learn it. If you can imagine that you combine Grade 5 Theory, as it's known, with your internal jukebox, your songs that you know, and your mastery of yourself in terms of that internal jukebox, your musical personality, just those two things together puts you in a certain league above other pianists, because you are developing something that they aren't. Many people are only sitting at the piano, learning at the piano, reading at the piano, leaving and doing nothing. And most people can only get, what, 5 hours a week maybe? But you are spending most of your hours every day. You could get to 20, 30, 40 hours a week with your internal practice, listening, analyzing, all these things. So really, and learning some theory that you can apply in so many different ways and understand your favorite music in new ways. I'm really going to push you towards that grade 5 theory. I think it's going to benefit everybody. So musical personality, get that down. Grade 5 theory, at least read it once. Read the content, read the literature once. Some stuff will stick, some won't, but it will be a very nice brain top up, very beneficial. Third one is internal. No, it's not. That's the next one. The next one is your awareness of the theory that applies to everybody, which is major scales and the at least 4 primary chord types plus a few others. And if you want to do jazz, a few more. That's combined with, because this is theory away from the piano, you don't need the piano to learn the major scales. That's why all the chords. That's why I'm saying that this is a theoretical thing that you can do away from the piano. Sure, you can play all the scales at the piano and all the chord types, but this is away from the piano. So that's why it mixes with your internal piano. Your internal piano is simply your visualization of the 12-note block twice. 12-note block is C to B. That's every note that we have available to us in our music language, C to B. Everything takes place within that space, but we need 2 so that we can play all the major scales. So the last one being from B up to its A sharp. So in a way we could sort of say up to there really. But two 12-note blocks. That is in your mind. That's in my mind. This way you don't need to memorize anything. You just have this one shape. You know the templates of the major scale. You know the templates of the at least 4 primary chord types and understand that alterations of those create all the chords, and you practice them in your mind, and you do it away from the piano a lot. And that's going to really help you, because you have to remember this sentence: if you don't know it in your mind, then you can't do it at the piano. If you can't do it in your mind, you can't do it at the piano. And again, another one is the fingers can only do what the mind can imagine them doing, and they can't do what the mind can't imagine them doing. So there's a significant connection between your mind and your fingers. So you have to spend more time with your mind. This is the problem. Many people don't. They sit at the piano, they use their fingers, and then they leave. Nothing happens in the mind, and most of what they did has been forgotten. And progress is slow, if at all. Many people give up. The amount of emails I've had from people about this topic is endless. So let me give you a couple of games I used to do to reinforce both my internal piano and my major scale and chord shape mastery. First one is to pick any note, take its major scale, but say it descending, because it's more difficult than ascending. We're so used to doing things left to right, reading, writing, even the clock is a kind of left to right movement, let's say. And by going the other way, you're really challenging yourself. So away from the piano, let's take a key of A flat, and you're going to see it in your mind here between the 2 12-note blocks, and you're going to say it down, descending. So you're going to go like A flat, and you're going to see the note in your mind: G, F, E flat, D flat, C, B flat, A flat. You see it. That's a really good exercise. All the major scales descending on your internal piano. Second thing is you take any note. Let's take F. And you're going to say F is the first of what major scale, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh of which major scales, seventh being major seventh, not dominant 7. So F is one of itself, it's the second of E flat, it's a third of D flat, This is not memory, this is visualization. It's a fourth of C, it's a fifth of B flat, the sixth of A flat, and the major seventh of G flat. But I would do that in my mind. And with a couple of people in an online session, we've done this. We've played kind of major scale number tennis. So I might say, we'll start with a note, let's say F, and then I'll say 6, and they would say A flat, and then A flat would become the new note, and then I might say 3, and then it reverses. So A flat is the third of which key? You can also say the opposite. So A flat or G sharp is the third of E. So that becomes the new note, and you go, and then you go 5, and then you can either say the fifth of E, which is B, or E is the fifth of which key? That would be A. So there's this sort of number tennis using major scales away from the piano. You can do the same thing with chords. I note the time, by the way. You can do the same thing with chords. Say the chords backwards. Let's take B flat. B flat minor major 7. Descending in your mind. A for the major 7, F for the 5, D flat for the minor, B flat for the 1. And maybe try to say the inversions, because inversions don't really exist. It's just playing the 4 notes that you need in any order. And if you know the major scale, then you know where 1 minor, 5 and 7 are. You can play them in any order. I mean, let me just take 5 major 7, 1 minor. This is an inversion of B flat minor major 7, because I'm playing the root, the minor, the 5 and the major 7. Doesn't matter what inversion, I'm looking at numbers only. That's why it's impossible to play a wrong note, because I'm looking at numbers. So internal, all of this stuff I was doing when I was younger, and I didn't realize it. I got to the point, I can tell you, that my internal piano, I was watching my internal piano play these games itself, if that makes any sense. I was observing my internal piano playing itself. And that's the level that you should get to, and it isn't as hard as you think. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing, that's the third and fourth thing, let's say, so 3A, 3B. And then the fourth thing is sight reading. Not everyone wants to learn how to sight read. It's not completely necessary. Sometimes you may just want to play by ear. You may want to compose your own stuff on a computer. You may want to play jazz and you're just looking at chord symbols, so you don't really need to play from the sheet music. Playing sheet music is normally for the classical and romantic era music. If you want to, then this is a perfect example this is a good moment to promote my podcast episode on the internal manuscript, linked below somewhere. You can learn sight reading away from the piano. You don't need to sit at the piano, and that's something I did. Recently I did a Chopin tutorial, 3 parts, linked below, and I learned that very quickly because I did it by putting it on my internal jukebox. I listened to different versions. I was looking through the score to get the structure as well and identify any weaknesses there may have been, any notation that I didn't perhaps know. Good opportunity to learn some theory and acquire it when I need it. And then I learned the pattern on my internal piano, looking at the score away from the piano. So when I actually finally got to the piano, I could kind of already play it, I could already play the piece. 80%. At the piano, it was more about touch, refining the natural fingering, getting a feel for the piece at the piano. But it was already 80% in my mind, you see. So I'll conclude here and hope that you will do these things. Some of them took me a long time to realize. Other things I realized quite soon, other things I didn't know I was doing all this time. So, just to confirm, master your musical personality, and perhaps share below as a comment what your musical personality is. It might help you to express it in a comment and other people can join in. I like community. Musical personality. Grade 5 theory. Just get some theory under your belt. It will help you. Some basic notation stuff, some basic theory about notes, some Italian terms, and a bit of history. It will help you, and it feels good to do that. Major scales and chord types on your internal piano. Play number games with yourself, see shapes. You have all the hours in the day to do this. You don't need to be sitting at the piano. Really do that. And then sight reading, if you want to, but you may not want to, but you can if you want, of course. And I have videos on that and podcasts, as I say, and there's lots of links below in the description. A combination of those 4 things, along with the content of the first video with technique, is going to make you an incredibly good piano player, a true to yourself piano player. You'll be playing you, a water pianist, dare I say. So hopefully you've enjoyed these 2 videos, and I'm looking forward to seeing your comments and your learning about your progress. As always, likes, comments, subscriptions are always welcome. I wish you a very splendid 2020, and likes, comments, subscriptions. I've said that already. Have a look at my books, blog, podcast, and Patreon. Thank you very much. All the best, and bye for now.